Alright, everybody, peace. Welcome to the Stby Basketball Show. Wherever or however you're listening, we're so grateful to have you here with us. As you guys know, I'm your host, Sean Cottle, and today we've got a wonderful show for you today, guys. We are going to be recapping the Game 2 matchup between the Wolves and the Nuggets, and we're also going to be recapping the Game 1 matchup between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers, while also previewing some very exciting second round matchups involving the Thunder and the Mavericks, as well as the Celtics and the Cavaliers. Got a lot in store for you today, guys. You're not going to miss it. But before we get started, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. And if you'd like to gain access to some of our exclusive content as well, you can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in Sorry to Bother You Show. And if you'd like to support our network or company, like I said, you can follow the link in the ticker below, as well as the link that is provided in the description. None of this is possible without you guys as fans, so we're just so grateful and honored for all the love and support that you show us. And it's an honor to have this platform to talk about the wonderful game of basketball. So that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? Like I said, we're going to start out by recapping the Game 2 matchup between Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. I want to take a different approach to this, though. Obviously, we all watched the game, or for those of you who didn't, the Timberwolves jumped out to a 30-point lead in the second half, in the first half, led by Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns, who scored 27 and 28 points respectively. And all throughout the game, Minnesota did an amazing job of applying defensive pressure in the full court to Denver. Denver did a poor job of handling the physicality of Minnesota. And something we talked about in the previous show yesterday, talked about how Minnesota should look to slow down the pace of the game and use their size, use their strength against Denver, wear them out, and that's exactly what they did. No one outside of Nikola Jokic really stepped up. No one really on the Denver team at all stepped up. Nikola Jokic didn't have the type of game that he's held at for his standard. Did not have a good game by his standard. Jamal Murray, could tell, was dealing with his injury with his calf. Aaron Gordon didn't have a good game as well, even though he started out well shooting the ball. Reggie Jackson re-injured his ankle as well. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was not in rhythm as well. And there was no sign of DeAndre Jordan once again, which is something we talked about. And mind you, Minnesota was able to do all of this without Rudy Gobert, who was absent due to being present for the birth of his son. Congratulations, Rudy Gobert, on becoming a father. And Denver was not able to take advantage of that, of Minnesota missing their best defensive player. And so we know all that. We saw the game. We all saw it, and it was pretty glaring. By the way, I do feel more confident now about my pick. I did pick Minnesota in 6 games. I feel much more confident about that now. But I want to take a different approach to this, like I said. Something I've discussed on this show ad nauseum, granted a couple months ago, was the fact that the NBA was all in on the global market. It was all in on marketing the global athlete. It was all in on accepting the fact that the best players were in the NBA were no longer domestic but rather foreign. And the NBA was willing to accept this and was going, like I said, they were willing to go all in on it by marketing heavily Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid. And they wanted to tap into a different demographic. The NBA did, which is actually different from the typical mold that the NBA marketing has followed since the beginning of the modern era. All throughout the modern era of the NBA, up until about the past 4 years, it was led by domestic-born players. From Magic Johnson to Larry Bird to Michael Jordan to LeBron James to Kobe Bryant to Steph Curry to Kevin Durant. The list goes on. I mean, there's just no question. But these past 4 years, the NBA has started to change its mold and its marketing techniques in terms of shifting towards the global population. And there has been a slight shift, a slight uptick in the fan turnout due to the NBA marketing more towards the global audience. However, when the NBA was at its peak in terms of marketing and availability, there has always been a domestic player that the NBA was able to lean on, or put all their chips in that corner, for lack of better words. And it creates a sense of duality when you're able to have a foreign-born player that you're able to market to go along with a top domestic player. And you can tell which domestic players that the NBA wants to market or wants to make as the face of domestic players. Initially, it was Zion Williamson, but he was not able to stay healthy. And on a three-dimensional level, most of these guys tend to be MK Ultra program athletes, but I digress. So, like I said, start out with Zion Williamson, that's who they initially wanted to be the face of the domestic-born players for this class, for this generation, but he has been unable to stay healthy consistently. And then it transitioned to Ja Morant, and Ja Morant was able to fit that mold for the course of about 7-8 months. However, his off-the-court issues and his health as well have become a factor. So now in comes Anthony Edwards, who fits the mold for what the NBA looks for when marketing their prime, their number one domestic athlete. He's charismatic. He works well with the media. He has an explosive repertoire to his game. He's exciting to watch play basketball. And he also has what you would call like a urban aesthetic, an urban vibe to him, while not turning off your more conservative viewers. And so Anthony Edwards fits that he checks off all those boxes. So the NBA has been willing to go all in with Anthony Edwards as their domestic player. And this didn't just start. This just didn't happen over the course of the last month and a half. This started up until I would say intentionally marketing Anthony Edwards as their domestic player. I would say it started about around the time of the FIBA World Cup, when Anthony Edwards started getting a lot of publicity for his play and his level of play, and rightfully so, well deserved, because he was playing phenomenally and he was the best player on that team. That's when the NBA truly started to market Anthony Edwards as the guy, as the domestic player. And rightfully so. Listen, I was one of the guys that said early on that at the beginning of the season that Anthony Edwards has a legitimate chance of being MVP candidate. And in my opinion, I think he will get some MVP votes, as he should. But that's when the NBA truly became intentional about marketing Anthony Edwards as their prime domestic player, around the time of the FIBA World Cup last year. And this matchup between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets is prime marketing, prime viewership. This is exactly what the NBA wants. Pitting your domestic player, number one domestic player, against your number one foreign player in Nikola Jokic. That duality, it creates a bit of a stir on the subconscious level within the viewing audience. And that's what the NBA wants. It wants a little bit of polarity so it can draw and garner more interest from the viewers. And I guarantee you, I don't have the Nielsen ratings on me right now, obviously, that the series between the Minnesota Timberwolves and Denver Nuggets is more likely one of the highest, if not the highest, watched and rated series of the second round right now. Granted, or it will be, at least, when it's all said and done. And this is why the NBA likes to have at least one foreign player they always market and one domestic player they always not market. similar to the dynamic, different in some aspects, but somewhat similar to the dynamic that the WNBA has right now with marketing, when marketing, i.e., Angel Reese, in comparison to Caitlin Clark. There's nuances, there's differences obviously between the players. There's a little bit of a racial dynamic as well. All that plays into the marketability, and the NBA is feeding off of that as well. And quite frankly, the NBA is smart in taking Facebook out of the WNBA's marketing tactics in terms of that aspect. And so that marketing will be good for the NBA. But it's apparent to me that the NBA has gone all in on marketing Anthony Edwards as the guy, the domestic player that they want as their face for the next decade, half decade at least. I mean, think about how now everyone's starting to say, well, Anthony Edwards is the next Michael Jordan, the next Kobe Bryant, plays just like them. He has that dog, that Mamba mentality. No one was saying this a year and a half ago. Granted, Anthony Edwards has gotten phenomenally better. He has had a tremendous rise in his talent level in his game. He's worked hard. All that's true. The NBA is feeding off of that. That's all I'm saying. From a marketing tactic, it's smart. It's the right thing to do. It's the right move to do. I'm just pointing it out, making sure everyone else is seeing it as well. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this marketing tactic the NBA is using by creating and making Anthony Edwards the face, the poster boy for domestic born players. Love to hear all about it. But in our next segment, guys, we are going to be recapping the Game 1 matchup between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back. Alright, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the first segment of our show, we just discussed the marketing tactics the NBA is using now with Anthony Edwards. And in this segment, guys, like I said, we're going to be discussing the Game 1 matchup between the New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers. As you guys know, it's an exciting matchup between these two teams that really came down to a couple of late possessions, late calls. The New York Knicks ended up winning by 5 points, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, that one you guys can correct me. But came down to the final 2 minutes, and within those final 2 minutes, both teams correctly challenged the call, and both teams committed the turnovers. New York Knicks were able to close out the game, and after the game ended, there was a lot of stir, a lot of conversation about what some people were calling poor officiating and bad calls. If you've watched this show for the past 4 years, you know my stance. You know Dre's stance on bad calls. One bad call never determines the outcome of the game. Uh, Normally, the outcome of the game is decided well before that call. And quite frankly, as a player, as a team, if you allow one call to truly dictate the outcome of the game, you don't deserve to win. That's just my stance on it. I know it sounds harsh, it sounds kind of crass, and it sounds kind of resolute, but it just is what it is. Because I guarantee you, the Indiana Pacers did not lose this game in the final 2 minutes. Would they have gotten another possession? Yes, but you can't even guarantee that the Pacers would have scored on that last possession, or on if they had one extra possession. So you can't guarantee that. But the Indiana Pacers did not lose that game in those final 2 minutes. They lost that game in the second half when they allowed ample second chance opportunities to the New York Knicks by allowing many offensive rebounds, which is something that we discussed in a preview video. And they also allowed Jalen Brunson to score in isolation as opposed to doubling him off those ball screens, which is also something that we discussed. So listen, everything that we talked about that the Indiana Pacers needed to do in order to win, they did not do. And that's the reason they lost this game. And listen, the New York Knicks did a great job of limiting the fast break opportunities for the Pacers. One thing that I don't like that the New York Knicks did is that they were going over the ball screens with Tyrese Halliburton, which allowed for those slips, and from that slip and the dump down, it allowed for one more skip, and sometimes the lob off the backside, weak side cutter. Indiana got a lot of easy points off of that. So, like I said, if I was New York, I'm not doubling that. I'm not hedging that. I'm not going over those ball screens with Halliburton. I'm going under it, and I'm forcing him to shoot. If Halliburton goes off for 30 by going 5 of 9 from 3, I'll live with that. I'll live with Halliburton shooting those shots. What I don't want is Halliburton getting to the paint and creating easier scoring opportunities for the shooters that are surrounded by him. You know, the TJ McConnells, the Obi Toppins, the Pascal Siakams, the Miles Turners, the Ben Naismiths. That I don't want those guys scoring. I don't want Indiana to get easy scoring opportunities like that. And the New York Knicks did it, though they didn't go under and they didn't take away the slip pass, they still did a great job of rebounding, and they did a great job of getting back in transition defense, and also limiting possession from Indiana by using most of the shot clock, by using full 24 seconds of the shot clock in a half-court setting when the Knicks had the ball themselves. And that's why the Pacers lost this game, not because of a few bad calls, a few blown calls. And that's the discussion that no one's having, is that the Knicks just played good basketball, and the Indiana Pacers didn't do what they needed to do. Like I said, before the series started, and yesterday in our previous show, I picked the Knicks to win this game in 6, and I'm going to stick with that pick. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. What did you guys see? What do you guys think about this? Do you guys think Indiana has a legitimate chance of winning this series? Or do you think the Knicks are going to win the series? And what do you guys think about the blown calls, or quote-unquote blown calls that occurred in Game 1? Do you agree with the calls? Do you disagree with them? Do you feel like more responsibility, more onus needs to be placed on the refs? Let me know what you guys think. But in our next segment, guys, we are going to be previewing the other second round matchup in the Eastern Conference between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. Right back. Alright, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed our previous segment, we discussed the Game 1 matchup between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. And in this segment, guys, we're going to be previewing the second round matchup between the Cleveland Celtics, the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. My apologies, guys. So let's go ahead and get right into that, shall we? Like I said, guys, this is the other matchup, second round matchup in the Eastern Conference. As you guys know, the Boston Celtics defeated the Miami Heat in 5 games, while the Cleveland Cavaliers defeated the Orlando Magic in 7 games, led by Donovan Mitchell. Season series, I believe Boston won 3 of the 4 games. And the one game that Cleveland did win, it was when Boston blew a 20-point lead and Cleveland came back, and all this was done without Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell did not play in that game. But the key to this game is going to be the size and ability to limit turnovers if you're Boston. Listen, we all know Kristaps Porzingis is still hurt. Not sure what his status will be for Game 1 tonight and for the series as a whole. But not having Kristaps Porzingis won't hurt Boston as much in this series, but it will hurt them moving forward into the playoffs. Same thing goes for Jared Allen and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Without Jared Allen, I don't believe Cleveland has a legitimate chance of winning this series. I was a proponent and someone that said that if Orlando would have been a tougher matchup for Boston than Cleveland would, just because of their physicality and size. But Cleveland, though they do have a little bit of physicality, they don't have as much size, and they're not always the most efficient offensively, and they don't really force teams to move around or rotate within the half-court setting, which only bodes well for Boston. I believe that Drew Holiday is going to get the primary matchup against Donovan Mitchell. And I expect Darius Garland to attack early and attack often in this series. I just don't think there's enough firepower for Cleveland to take this series with Boston past 6 games. I believe Boston's going to win this series in 5 games. And I believe just the depth and the slight size advantage that Boston will have against Cleveland will be enough. One thing I am impressed with, though, from Cleveland is their ability to play defense for extended possessions. Though they're not physical, they move well laterally as a team. I'm excited to see how Boston handles that, especially since Miami in the series against Boston did not move well laterally defensively, and they just didn't have the depth. Obviously, Cleveland has a bit more depth than Miami does, and they move more. They move better laterally as a team defensively at this point in the season. So I'm excited to see how Boston handles that. I do believe Boston will win this series in 5 games. The most it will go is 6. But without Jared Allen, Cleveland just does not have a legitimate chance of winning the series against Boston. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you guys think that Cleveland could upset Boston in this series? Do you guys think that Boston will sweep this series against Cleveland? Or does Cleveland has a chance to possibly win this in 6 or even 5? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys expect to see from this series. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. In our last segment, guys, we are going to be discussing the other Western Conference second round matchup between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. Be right back. Alright, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the previous segment of our show, we we previewed the second round matchup between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics. And in this matchup, or in this segment, guys, to close out our show, we are going to be previewing the other second round matchup in the Western Conference between the Dallas Mavericks and the Oklahoma City Thunder. As we know, the Oklahoma City Thunder swept the New Orleans Pelicans in the first round, while the Dallas Mavericks defeated the LA Clippers in 7 games. The Oklahoma City Thunder, the West #1 seed, led by Shai Gilgeous and Jalen Williams and Lou Dort and Chet Holmgren and the bevy of young talent, Josh Giddey, the bevy of young talent on that roster. And we all know Dallas Mavericks, led by Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving and PJ Washington and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Wayne Gafford. By the way, Maxi Kleber will not be playing in this series for Dallas Mavericks, so that could be a bit of a hindrance for Dallas. However, the key to this series, what it's going to come down to at the end of the day, is experience. It's going to be experience. Listen, this Oklahoma City team is very talented, uber talented, and extremely explosive. They played more efficiently than the LA Clippers did. So, at face value, I was, initially people want to say, well, defensively, Dallas might struggle with Oklahoma City. However, if we really look at the defensive metrics from that series with the Clippers, the Dallas Mavericks played particularly well defensively, especially their 2 stars, Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, both players who we don't tend to talk about their defensive prowess. And if you're Dallas, it will be a little different. Your stars have to play defense because Kyrie is probably going to get guard Shai Gilgeous for an extended period of time, and Luka Doncic is more than likely going to have to guard either Josh Giddey or Jalen Williams. I'm assuming they'll put him on Josh Giddey. So your star players are going to have to be stout defensively, just as stout, if not more, than what they were in the first round matchup against the Clippers for Dallas. The size differential is not much. Yes, Oklahoma City is long, but Dallas has shown the ability to play physical and to double against teams that might have a size advantage. That's all they did in the series against the Clippers. Whenever Zubac had the ball, they doubled quickly, forcing Zubac to get the ball out. And will Chet Holmgren's lack of upper body strength play a factor in this series? Going up against guys like Gafford and PJ Washington. So that's something that needs to be seen as well. And will the lack of experience play a factor for Oklahoma City? I believe it will. Listen, the New Orleans Pelicans are a talented team, very good team, but compared to the Dallas Mavericks, I don't believe it's particularly close. The Dallas Mavericks are a much more talented, much more explosive team, much more complete team at this point in time than the New Orleans Pelicans are. And how will Oklahoma City respond to playing a team at this atmosphere and with this talent level, with this magnitude? When I was first debating this, I wagered back and forth. I swayed back and forth with my picks. However, the best way for me to say this is as follows: If this series goes past 5 games, the more I favor the Mavericks, and I will pick the Mavericks. If it goes anything past 5 games, the best opportunity that the Thunder have of winning the series is to completely demoralize the energy and the confidence of Dallas, and they do that by just being tenacious defensively in the first two games and completely cutting off any sort of offensive efficiency that Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are going to be looking for. Is that possible? Not entirely sure. That needs to be seen. But the only chance Oklahoma City has of winning this series is if they either get a sweep or if it goes 5 games. I don't think that's going to happen. And so as the series wanes and gets longer and prolongs, the more experience will play a factor, and the more I believe that bodes well for Dallas, which is why I believe Dallas is going to win this series in 7 games. Due to their experience and due to their talent level, due to the efficiency that their two star players have been playing at with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Both are playing phenomenally efficient, and Luka Doncic has shown much more trust in his teammates by getting the ball out earlier and often and allowing them to create, which just makes it easier. It keeps the defense honest for Luka, which means when Luka gets the ball, they can't sit in the paint and help off. So I believe the Dallas Mavericks will win this series in 7 games and move on to the Western Conference Finals. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, though. Am I completely off about this? Are the Thunder going to win this series convincingly? Or will the Mavs even win this series convincingly? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section and in the chat room. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. But with that being said, guys, that's it for our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful show. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay updated on all release content we post daily. And if you'd like to get access to our exclusive content that we post on Patreon, you can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in Started by the Show. That will gain access to all of our exclusive content. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the sticker below at streamelements.com/startedbybtheshow/tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/startedbybtheshow/tip. We will leave that link in the description as well. Guys, we'll be back on Thursday, same time, 11 a.m. Until then, guys, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and